Hey guys, my name is Tim. I'm the master mechanic at Zeiten BMW Mobile Services, and today we have 2012 BMW X5 xDrive 35i with the N55 engine. What we're gonna do is replacing oil filter housing gaskets. I say gaskets because it's an oil filter housing gasket to the head, and the other one is oil cooler gasket to the oil filter housing. So there's two in the spot. I'm gonna drop the links for the parts below. We're gonna be using L-ring gaskets. We already did some work on this car today, so you can check out all the plastic removal procedures in the previous video on the channel. Everything is still intact regarding the oil filter housing gasket repairs, so the only things we removed is for the previous repair. So let's get to it. First thing we're gonna do is remove this wire from this reinforcement bracket. Like, I'm using a screwdriver easily. Just pop it off. Of course, this is after removal of the air filter box, which is straightforward, but you can check it out in the other video of the valve cover replacement for exactly the same car. So, and now we're removing this bracket, this bar. It's 13mm bolts, 2 on each side. Once we've done that, keep the bolts away. And now, don't break this hose, but you can slide it out right here, and slide it here, and slide it out at all. Now, that gives us, first of all, of course, why do we need to replace the oil filter housing gaskets and how to spot the leak? Well, here it's very obvious. You can look inside right here. So all of this buildup, this is oil. Around here, this is oil as well. But the crucial one, if you come around here, the oil filter housing gasket itself, it goes all along right here. All of this buildup, this is oil. The other important spot right here is on the other side right there. So it usually leaks. This is where the gasket goes. It goes like this and all the way down there, and you can see sometimes inside the intake manifold the oil right there. It usually leaks down to the tensioner. So that's why we're gonna be replacing both seals. One goes like this, the other goes like this. In order to create more room, we gotta disconnect those AC lines. So I'll just pop them out of the brackets. One and another, and now it's flexible, as you can see. And the bottom one is thinner one. There we go. So once we've done that, we got those AC lines moving. Now what we gotta do is disconnect this big connector on the fan. Squeeze and release, usual things. And now I'm gonna be removing the radiator fan. It will give me a lot of room to work on this area, and it makes the process way easier. So the way you do it, you'll need a long screwdriver, something like that, because we're gonna be pushing on the pin right here. Like, if you can come over here, I'll show you guys. So you see, guys, this is where you gotta push this piece right here. You push and lift the radiator fan a little bit. It's really hard to do even with the while I'm showing, but you see the movement. It's exactly the same on the other side. So you push and you lift the radiator fan. Okay, so I lifted the radiator fan. You see it's free. Now we have this ear of the fan, which you gotta move. You gotta move it out of the way like that, and it goes inside. And now we can remove the radiator fan just to make sure the lines are not on the way and they don't break those connectors. That is straightforward. So one I'm talking about is like here. You see it locks and it stays pretty stable, but what you gotta do is push it inside. Before we proceed here with doing anything else, I want you guys to suck all the coolant out that you can from the expansion tank. I'm using the regular hand pump, so it should be approximately 2 quarts of coolant coming out from here. So unless you got that, don't stop pumping. So the coolant tank is empty. Now we're gonna remove the oil filter. We're gonna make sure there is no oil in there also, because remember, even if you're doing the oil change, there's still oil gonna be coming out. Not so fresh. Yeah, let the oil drain back. That's enough. So now what we're gonna do is remove but lift the intake manifold that will grant us access to the last bolt of the oil filter housing right there. This is 11 millimeter, 1 bolt, well actually 2 bolts and 5 nuts. They are all right here. I'll show you those later, but before we do that, we gotta remove those pipes, vacuum pipes. So that's the way you do it. I'm gonna use the pick tools to do so, like it's all happening right here. So we'll put one and another one. Here we go. That's one. Another one. Oh, it breaks like that. Alright. So those are out. Put them in here somewhere. We need to do that because of the access to this bolt. And now we're ready to move the intake manifold a little bit. We just need a tiny bit. Let's do it. I'll start with the rear bolt. You don't need to remove any of those, especially if you know where the last nut is. long extension, but I'll go with the 6-inch extension for the back bolt. It's more maneuverable like that. Okay, got this one. So that's one of the bolts. Nuts. That's the hardest one, and especially if you don't remove this wiring harness. The rest is pretty straightforward. They're all visible except this last one. It's right here. Just make sure you don't drop them. Really easy to do. There you go, another one. So 2 bolts and 5 nuts, all 11 millimeter. I'm going to use the magnet to remove the rest of them. Make sure you get it all clean here and you remove all the oil and you plug it with enough paper towels. Like I usually use 3 of them. That's usually enough. Then the next important thing, cover your tensioner and the belt with the towel for sure. Doesn't matter how good you drain your oil, this or that, or coolant, something will come out. I can guarantee you that when you remove this one and when you remove the oil filter housing as well. So just use a few towels to cover those components and you should be good to go. Now we're going to be removing this oil cooler. It's E12 sockets, 3 bolts, 1, 2, and the 3 is in the middle right here. Let's get to it. Let's start with the bottom bolt. First one out, and you can see how dirty it is right here. before doing this job, just make sure you have plenty of paper towels and carb cleaner or brake cleaner, because during this job there is usually a lot of cleaning involved if you want everything to be not spotless but in good condition, and it's always better to have parts clean rather than dirty. So now bolts are removed. We'll get a towel because we'll need to move it quick. There you go. Move it out of the way and try to catch as much oil as possible. See if we can move it all the way here. So that's what the towel for. We'll be cleaning that in the end, right before the installation. For now, we're just catching oil, basically, trying not to spill a lot. Let's go in. So once again, right now we're not cleaning, just preventing more oil spills. At this point you can easily remove the gasket if you want. Not really necessary now, but here it goes. And I can feel how hard it is. It's pretty brittle, yeah. Cracks right away. Alright, and now the most fun part is removing this bolt without removing this hose, because if we remove this hose it will break, I can guarantee you that, and we don't need that. So we're gonna be removing. I got this wrench. This is a E10 end and this one is a E12. I recommend you getting one of those if you have this car, let's say, because E12 side is crucial during the starter replacement, and E10 is for this one. And overall it's a $15 range, so it's if you're doing this job, saving a ton of money already, get it. It will help you a lot. So the first thing we're gonna do, there we go, loosen that bolt. Once it's free, it's no longer feasible to use this wrench. Now I'll proceed with this one. It's a 5/16. You see it's small, it's easy to operate, so there you go. It's way easier. It's a 12 point wrench. So this one is the way to go. It's gonna take some time, but be patient. So this bolt is removed. Takes some time, so be patient with it. We'll readjust those towels. Now, since we removed all the bolts and nuts from the intake manifold, all we gotta do is just lift it a bit to gain access to the last bolt. But before we do that, there is one connector right here. It's not connector, it's a clip. You just gotta push it down. There you go. So the wire is out of the way. So let me show you how to do it. We don't need to remove any of those things. And that is all that we need. Lift it just like that Let's disconnect the oil pressure sensor. We can move this line kind of out of the way, but not necessary. So we gain access to this last bolt right here. Let me show you. Just like that. This one and this one. That's it. Nothing else holds the oil filter housing in place. So let's remove it. One and two. Out. We can remove it or we can keep it in place, but I'll just take it out with the magnet. There you go. Now let's proceed to oil filter housing. Not removal completely because we have the radiator hose attached in here, and I kind of don't want to disconnect it, so I'll just move it. But be prepared for oil to come out. Put it right there. There we go. So oil might be coming out here, there, everywhere. And now is the time to start cleaning everything around the oil filter housing. Like you can see, there's some oil got into this passage, so you need to clean it thoroughly. I would recommend you to, if you got some oil in, drain the coolant, refill it, just to be safe. But to be real, nothing's gonna happen if a little bit of oil gets into the cooling system. But I like to clean it all up. So make sure you clean everything around the valve cover. This area is right here. This area is right here around this hose. You see it got a little bit on the alternator, so clean the alternator. Clean around this upper radiator hose. Then when we flip the oil filter housing, like at the bottom of it, all the sides, this will just make it easier for you in the future to see if it's leaking again or it doesn't. So pay attention to cleaning and clean it really good. For this job we're going to be using the L-ring gasket, one and another. Both of them are. I'll put the links in the description for those seals. I like those the best. There are others good ones, but I like L-ring. Those are kind of the best. So this is the one oil filter housing gasket. As you can see, I'm not done with the cleaning yet, but I'll do this part when we install the oil filter housing back in place. So we'll remove this seal. That's a hard seal right here. Yep, can't even remove it in one piece. There we go. Just that's the old one. Now we're gonna I'll clean it all around, as much as I can, in here and everywhere. Now the good time to clean the passages where the gasket goes. Don't spend too much time on it. Usually nothing is in there. Maybe just a little bit pieces of the old gasket, but you would see it right away. Just clean it up a little bit. And now we are ready to put the new one in. Important, and I can't stress it enough, well, of course it goes only one way. Don't put any silicone in here ever. No gasket maker, nothing, just plain gasket, and that's it. Nothing else is necessary. Opposite, if you put anything else, it will shorten the life of the seal of the gasket, the oil filter housing gasket. I've seen it 100 times and over. People use a lot of silicone. The gasket is still fine, but it's leaking like crazy because of this silicone. So don't do that. And before the installation, what we can start with, like to make it simpler, we can put this bolt on and just go there. There we go. And put the top one on. So this one is in place. And don't forget to clean the bolts. That's important too. It makes it easier to put them on. So all three bolts are kind of in. We don't need to put them all the way, just to keep it in place. And I'll start with the, well, with the toughest one right here, using the same range, 5/16, or I'll try to use my fingers as much as I can first because it's faster, and then just take your time. The first bolt is almost in. Now we basically kind of hand tight all of them. And the trick is, not exactly the trick, but to make sure they kinda getting tighter at the same time. So just make it balanced, but not absolutely necessary to do both of them at the same time. You can do one and then another. It's completely fine. And now for the final torque down, just using this E10. Don't go too much. You don't want to overdo it, so that's just fine. And there you have it. The oil filter housing gasket is replaced. Now just push back the intake manifold and we'll continue cleaning this area right here. Here it goes, guys. This is how clean it's supposed to be. It is easier to clean the face of it while it's bolted on. So clean every passage everywhere, so the next time if it does leak, you don't confuse yourself like, was it the old stuff, is it the new stuff coming out? You just know for sure it was clean, spotless, and now it's not. That means it's leaking again, and it happens. Usually after installation, the seals last between, let's say, 50 to 70,000 miles. From the factory it's 80 to 100. So you can expect those leaks if you keep the car for a while. Now I'm gonna clean this one up as well, and right now we are ready to install another gasket in place. There it goes. Doesn't go anywhere. Once again, no silicone is necessary for this gasket at all. Zero. That's how much silicone you're supposed to use. Zero silicone for this job. Alright. Cleaning. Now we're ready to install the oil cooler back. Just keep in mind that there is still coolant in here. It easily can spill, and you gotta do it either fast or be prepared for the spill. So there it goes. There we go. So now what you want to do is to hold it in place tight enough for no coolant to be able to come out, and bolt it on. Don't forget to clean your sockets as well, because they make the bolts dirty. Those AC lines, definitely no help. But all we gotta do is to bolt it enough so it doesn't leak. Alright, and now we can easily install the bottom bolt. As you can see, none of the bolts are tight. They just in position to hold the oil cooler in place without leaking anything. And once we got the same for the bottom bolt, alright, and now we can make it tight. Same rules as oil filter housing gasket. You kinda gotta do it at the same time, but pretty much impossible. Do your best to make it even. There we go. All done. A little bit more cleaning over here. Alright, don't forget to remove your rugs. You can clean up the oil filter housing once again. And don't forget to clean up the oil cap after all of that. The next important step is, since we are all done here, put the bolts back on into the intake manifold and reverse everything. Just put the hoses back up, the fan, and we are all done. So now the oil filter housing gasket installation is complete. Everything's done. The only thing left after refilling the coolant is to bleed the system. So what you're gonna do is, without starting the car, put the heater to the max and step on the gas pedal for approximately 10 seconds. This will activate the pump, and you gotta run this procedure for 12 minutes. What I usually do is I run it for 6 minutes and then start the car so it doesn't drain the battery. All of that with the expansion tank cap either removed or just put there so it doesn't splash everywhere. This is it, guys. So this is how you replace the oil filter housing gasket on N55 engine X5 2011 till 2013. It's the same engine on the next generation X5, but it might be a little bit of a different procedure. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, link for those L-ring oil filter housing gaskets in the description. Thank you guys for watching again, and don't break your cars. See you next time.